Good afternoon. Welcome to a segment of the Jermaine Brown Political Talk Show. Yeah, usually I discuss sports, but what has been happening in politics of late has been kind of fascinating, and so I kind of wanted to give my take on it. You have really three candidates in these races right now. You have Donald Trump, who's leading the Republican Party, okay, with Rubio and Cruz fighting for second place because it really doesn't matter second place doesn't matter. Only first place matters. Then on the Democratic side, you have Hillary Clinton, who's right now the front runner in the Democratic Party, and you have Bernie Sanders, who's right now trailing her, who's also trying to run to become president of the United States. Now, I'm not going to talk about Hillary today because, matter of fact, you know what? I am going to mention a little bit of Hillary because I'm going to say, after listening to both Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders speak, I'm actually, and I hate to have to say this, I'm actually glad Hillary Clinton is in this race. And I'm going to explain to you why. Because the solutions that Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump come up with is so absurd. It's outright mind-boggling that people actually fall for this stuff. The media doesn't challenge these candidates on these statements, and the people actually eat it up. You know, it just goes to show you why I have a very low opinion of the American voter. Because the American voter is like they're willfully ignorant, or they're just outright not bright at all. Because listen, every candidate from the dawn of time who's ran for the president of the United States or any really political office, but we're talking about the president of the United States, so we're going to leave it there. Any candidate that runs for these offices, they're going to make promises, and the thing is this. Some of them they can keep, most of them, it's just what we call a pie in the sky. But now we're getting to what I call a theater of the absurd. What do I mean? Well, we got Donald Trump from the Republican side talking about building a wall, okay, at the border and making Mexico pay for it. Before I get to Bernie Sanders, let's talk about Donald Trump for a second. This is so absurd on so many levels, and here's why I have little respect for the American voters. People are actually buying that he can achieve this. I hate to tell the American voters this, but I guess I have to say it. 90 to 95% of what a president wants to do must pass through Congress. And the last time I checked, Congress has really a two-party system. Well, three if you want to count independents, but you have the Democrats and you have the Republicans, okay? And one side is there to block the other. They're not there to really work together. They're there to make certain that there's what they call the checks and balances, to block the other side from getting everything they want. So let's just say let's just throw it out there. Let's just say that Donald Trump, let's just go hypothetical here. Donald Trump is the next president of the United States. Okay? Now, can you imagine him trying to sell to Congress, building a wall, and having Mexico pay for it? First of all, there will not be no wall, and here's why. Because what he wants to do is stop illegal immigration, the Mexicans, primarily, because that's what he's referring to, from coming across in the border. But who's really benefited off illegal immigration? Let's think about that, folks. Who really benefited off illegal immigration? I want to say businesses. If you go into your restaurants, look into your kitchens. Go look into the kitchens of these restaurants. 9 out of 10 times, you probably got somebody who's working illegally. Okay? This is why your steak, when you go into a nice steak restaurant, you might pay $50 for the steak. You take out those illegal immigrants and you force them to use American workers, now that steak is $75. There is your home builders, okay? A lot of business corporations use illegal immigration, folks. Matter of fact, one home builder, I believe is Centenex or something like that, down in the South, he openly admitted that, yes, he uses illegal immigrants because why? He says, how do you think you can get your home for so cheap? Because cheap labor. Because why? He says, look, they're not asking for days off. They're not asking for 1-hour breaks. They work sun up to sundown, okay? They're not looking for unions. Okay? In other words, they're able to do the work at a fraction of what it's going to cost to hire the same American worker. So I don't blame these businesses for wanting to use illegal immigrants. I have no problem with it. And see, they benefit the most. So therefore, you're never going to get the business community to approve closing off the border and keeping illegal immigrants out. It'll never happen. Okay? So what they're going to do is they're going to put the pressure to Congress, who they are paying to be there. Okay? Because they're lining both pockets, both the Republican and the Democratic side. They're lining their pockets to make certain they get what they want. So that's why they're called lobbyists. So therefore, when Trump goes and tries to explain to Congress why there needs to be a wall, they're going to shoot him down because why? The people who is paying for them to be there is going to say, we don't want no wall. So that's going to kill that right there. But yet nobody in the media challenges Trump to that and say, how are you going to get this by Congress? Okay? So that is one of the most absurd things that Trump has said. But Bernie Sanders is trying to out-Trump Trump. What do I mean by this? Bernie Sanders came with something, on theory, at first glance, it sounds honorable. At first glance, it sounds reasonable. At first glance, it sounds, wow, what a nice plan. But here's why it's diabolical or devious. His plan is he wants to have public education, in other words, four-year universities, public universities, be free to the students. In other words, free education. Now, growing up, folks, we've all been told there is nothing in life for free. Everything has a price. Okay? Which means if somebody's getting something for free, someone somewhere else is paying for it. Someone else is paying for it. There is nothing ever free. So let's just assume that Congress passes Bernie Sanders' plan of making public school or public universities free. Okay? That means the government has to fund these universities for them to survive. If the government has to fund it, who do you think is going to pay for that funding? That money's, where do you think that money just comes up? Out of the sky? Someone's going to pay for it. And guess who it's going to be? The American taxpayer. Your taxes, folks, and my taxes is going to go up to pay for that bill, or to pay for that funding, or to pay for that freedom that students can have. Now, you might say, well, Jermaine, that's not so bad. Well, what's so bad about paying a little bit more in taxes? Well, you see, there's another unintended consequence to this. Bernie Sanders was speaking at a town hall in South Carolina, I believe it was yesterday, and a young black gentleman got up and he said that he attended a historically black university. Now, everybody knows that historically black colleges are under attack financially, okay, because they don't have the funding necessary to like your other universities do. Now, historically black colleges are privately held universities. These are private universities. So he asked Bernie this question. He says, how does your public university free education going to affect the historically black colleges? Because it's going to affect it. Here was Bernie's response. This is a good question. This is very important, and I want to protect the historically black colleges, so I want to provide funding to these universities. I call that bullshit, and I'm going to explain to you why. It's clear Bernie did not think this through when he came with this plan. Him and his people did not really think this through. See, let's just go off the premise that Congress approves his free education for public universities. Okay? So now you want Congress to also approve additional funding to black universities, which they're not even giving right now. But you want them to give the funding. Let's assume, let's just play devil's advocate and say that Congress even agrees to give these historically black universities extra money. What's the problem with this? Do you not see the problem? Let's say I'm a black student. I'm a young 17, 18-year-old young male or female who's looking to go off to college. I got two choices. Now, the black colleges who are being funded, but I still got to pay to go to that school because it's not free. He didn't say make them free. So I would have to pay to go to that school. Or I can go to a public university and pay nothing. What choice do you think I'm going to make? Do the math here, folks. This is not hard to figure out. It makes no sense for a young child to go to a historically black college if they can go to a public university for free and get a public education for free. Get an education, a college education for free. It makes no sense to pay for that same education. So even if Congress provided the funding, nobody would go, which ultimately will force Congress to pull the funding. So if Bernie Sanders' theory came to pass, let's say I'm a white congressman who have an issue with African Americans, and I want to eliminate the black colleges. I'm going to approve Bernie Sanders' plan. Why? Because that would be the death nail in the black colleges. Because makes no sense for a black kid to go to a historically black college when they can go to these white colleges, public universities for free. It makes no sense. Here's what Bernie Sanders should have said to that question. I'm going to be frank with you. When I came with this plan of making making public universities free for students, I did not take into account how this is going to affect the black colleges, but I can see how this can affect the historically black colleges. It can pretty much end them. So here's what I would do. I will still allow the public university, if you want to go to a public university, that still would be free. But here's what I would do for those who want to go to historically black colleges. I would make those, and only those private universities, also free. And the government will fund it. If he had said that, then I could have halfway bought his plan, even though Congress would never have signed off on it anyway, but at least I could halfway buy it. This is what I call, again, the theater of the absurd. He clearly did not think this through when he came with that ridiculous plan of making public universities free. It's clear Bernie Sanders didn't think that through. He would kill off the black college because why? It would make no sense for a kid to go there. So this is why, folks, I'm actually glad that Hillary Clinton is actually in this race. And she's not somebody I want to vote for because, I'm tired of having more Bushes and more Clintons in the White House. To me, I'm like, listen, once you have one member serving the White House, let somebody else do it. But not somebody from the same family. That's just how I am. But that's just my view. But listening to all these candidates, it's like I'm left with no choice because all these candidates are talking silly. You got now Ted Cruz talking about he wants to deport all 12 million illegal immigrants. Good luck selling that, buddy. These people, it's like you try so hard to pander to your base, you don't realize how stupid you sound. And the thing is, people eat this stuff up. Like, if they can do this, folks got to realize something about the presidency. And I've always said this, and I always believe this. The presidency is nothing but a glorified figurehead. That's all the president really is. A glorified figurehead. No more, no less. Because why? Yes, the president has veto power, but so does Congress. Congress can veto the president. Okay? 9 out of 10 of what the president wants done, he has to go through Congress. Why do you think all these presidents, they come in, they got dark black hair, whatever color hair they have, and when they come out, they all have gray hair? Why is that? Look at Obama, 08, black hair. Go look at the photos, the videos. 07, 08, black hair. Look at him now. gray hair. Look at George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George H.W. Bush before. Look at them. They all come out looking much more like worn down. Because why? That position wears you down. Because you're constantly fighting, not only with the other side, but with your own side too. Because everybody has different agendas. Let's take Obama. Obama promised universal health care. Now that's doable, but the problem is he had Congress, particularly the Republicans, blocking him every step of the way. And even though we do have universal health coverage, it's not optimal because why? It's like in a what they call a bare bones system or a bare bones health system. Okay? So it's going to be incumbent on the next president to improve upon it. But what we have is a bare bones health coverage, health system. That's what we really have right now. And this is why I might be just forced to vote for Hillary, even though that's not what I really want. I want to thank you for watching this segment of the Jermaine Brown Political Talk Show. Have a nice day.